Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3, mic check. Okay, I tell you. All right.
Wait a minute, you real loud.
All right, I'm pulling away a little bit.
Let me hear you talk, bro. No, I just need you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Mic check, 1, 2,
Bring the
3.
mic back to you.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Mic check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2.
Mic check, 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 check. Mic check, check,
Okay.
check.
That's better.
Cool. We're in there. In there like swimwear.
Okay, all right. That was worse than I think my joke was. I don't know.
Oh, really?
That was a little bad. Let me put this right here. Do some B-roll now. There we go. B-roll. All right, ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready? Wayne, you
Yeah,
ready?
anytime you ready.
Okay. All right. Got the intro of the show coming on, and hey, welcome to the show today. We got my boy Anthony Gerard. I'm here, his sidekick today. Anthony, tell us about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so how are you guys doing? My name is Anthony Gerard, and we'll be talking about more so the basics in the operation of the nonprofit world. There's so many different dimensions and dynamics that are involved with implementing a nonprofit organization. We're going to kind of highlight, a lot of the action items that need to be implemented in order for you to be successful.
So, what is nonprofit? When some people think of nonprofit, they like, you give stuff away. There's no income to be made in nonprofit. Some people are even embarrassed to say that they make money in a nonprofit, but people don't understand nonprofits are where a lot of the people are starting these days.
Absolutely, because there's a need. There's always going to be a need, regardless where you're at in the community. And so that's kind of the main thing. People shouldn't be ashamed of working for nonprofits. I mean, you will have to there's a lot of sweat equity involved in that, obviously, just because you may not have the same resources that you would have at a Fortune 500 company. And so a lot of the movements in the nonprofit world, you have to be kind of self-made. You have to be able to manage resources. You have to be able to open up doors yourself.
When you say manage resources,
Yes.
what do you mean?
So managing resources. So for example, if we don't have a certain amount of money in budget to purchase some particular items, it's more so finding sponsorships or partnering with various organizations that can essentially meet the need that you're looking for. So for example, when I was an executive for the nonprofit that I worked for, I had a lot of success there, and we actually had a pretty huge event. And we ended up partnering with Home Depot, and they were able to kind of make a donation towards some supplies that were used for that event. And so at that point in time, money wasn't involved in that equation at all. It was just having a relationship and understanding how to get those resources and managing those resources when you get them.
What's the purpose of starting a nonprofit?
The passion, passion. I mean, that's, in my opinion, I feel like that anyone that starts a nonprofit, you will have to be willing to dedicate your life to that cause. There is no 9 to 5 in the nonprofit world. It's like an ongoing journey. It's a marathon. It never ends. You don't clock out. It's something that you have to be passionate to do on a regular basis,
Well, I from personal experience, for those of you guys don't know, we are the American Black Cross, and Gerard is helping us with the American Black Cross. All right. And so with that, it has been a challenge. It's a brand that we've created for 20-something years. And, I had to learn how to separate my civil rights activity with my nonprofit activity, with my personal life and my politics, because nonprofits cannot. So nonprofits cannot. Hey man, it adds a little break in. But nonprofits, it became something where we had to build credibility.
Sure.
We had to, and as much as we wanted it to stand on its own, the American Black Cross, they still looked at my wife and I as the face of it. Then once you get the nonprofit started, we did our trademark. Thank God that we have resources to help us with our trademark. But getting into nonprofit space, especially in Dallas, was hard because there's a lot of competing nonprofits out there that are in it for some of the wrong reasons. And I'm just saying, sometimes you got civil rights activists who ain't got no jobs.
Right.
Sometimes to me, civil rights activists mean you're unemployed. You got too much time in your hands, you know what I'm saying? And then people start nonprofits,
Right.
To funnel money through that. And I didn't like that,
Right.
Go ahead.
No, because I get exactly what you're saying, and that's when it really comes to when you're talking about people's passion, there has to be some sort of honesty, and they have to be honest, and they have to be trustworthy. They have to be able to hold themselves accountable.
Right.
And so what you're kind of alluding to is, maybe a nonprofit organization, they might receive a donation from a particular donor, and realistically, those funds that should actually go towards the actual need, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, a lot of the times it ends up funneling through a lot of other people's pockets, and at the end of the whole, once it's fully complete, you have to understand that little Johnny is only going to get a hot dog, maybe a hamburger, a bag of chips, and some fruit punch, just based on that gift, that nonprofit organization received.
That's why with the American Black Cross, I'm having to use that as an example because it's a living testimony to a nonprofit that has went through all the levels of frustration, of growth. One of the things that we had an issue with is the fact that we operate in the black.
Sure.
There are other nonprofits. I won't say any names. I never talk bad about in particular. But if your CEO is making $1 million or more,
right?
Does he need $1 million? Was not $300,000 enough?
Right.
Was $500,000 not enough?
I agree.
And then you have all of this administrative overhead.
Exactly.
And so when people donate, 80% of it sometimes goes directly to the administrative costs, and 20% get out to the people.
Exactly.
I have physically saw Walmart deliver a whole entire truck to a nonprofit, and they went through that truck and cherry picked and called all their friends to get certain items off that truck and then give the rest to the people. I'm a man of God, and I have to mix that in here. God said, give your best.
Right.
So, when we get donations, people come and clean out their clothes, give their old clothes, and we're like, no, if you're going to give somebody something, give them your best.
Exactly.
I know I'm kind of get off the track.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, but it's a lot of frustration, and people got to understand that, there has to be a passion. We live this every day. My wife and I, we fed out of our house, out of our garage before there was an American Black Cross. We make banana boxes.
Yeah.
It's about giving back because that's what we're here to spread the gospel.
Exactly.
And in spreading the gospel, it means that you have to do practical things to help people. And so the nonprofit space allowed us to do that. Mark Cuban, who I consider an associate, maybe he's a friend, been knowing him for quite a while.
Yeah.
He said something to me. He said he do not like to give money to nonprofits because there are too many services that are duplicated. He said, right, there's 100 people. You can go down right now in Dallas by the Stew's Pot. The homeless people have churches come in there every hour to feed them hot dogs, chicken, and everything. So they eat.
Right.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? So there's too much duplication of services. Nothing is coordinated. And so that's one of the issues, if you like to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things to where when you're talking about the duplication of services, I get that. I completely get that. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to have that particular passion. There's a couple things I'll address. So I'll address first the high-paid salary gentleman because I wanted to kind of touch on that. When these guys are making excess of $500,000 to $1 million a year on payroll, generally, the nonprofit world works like this. It's broken down into 4 different dimensions, okay? There's money, there's manpower, there's membership, and there's program. Those are the 4 levels of the nonprofit world.
And those 4 levels are appearing on the screen right there for those of you who are watching. Get your pens ready. This brother's about to give you some knowledge free.
So, so money, manpower, program, and money, manpower, membership, and program. Those are the 4 basics of the nonprofit world. Money, when you're doing the nonprofit, guys, I want you guys to know that when you have people that are overpaid, that is going to be a serious issue, especially when you are trying to raise $2 to $3 million that same year. So it's almost like, okay, you have a guy who's on payroll, he's getting paid $1 million a year, not knowing that they're raising, they might have a goal to raise $3.5, $4 million, and they could make their goal, or they'd have more of a possibility of getting the goal if, let's say if this guy, whoever this CEO is, if he wasn't making $1 million, maybe he could make $300,000. At that point in time, you've knocked your goal down by $700K. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the misfortune with the nonprofit world. And a lot of those guys, I'm not sure if they donate in-house or internally. I'm pretty sure they would have to. I mean, if you're making that kind of money, then I would assume, expect them to give a gift internally.
So that's money.
That's money, yeah.
Now management.
Exactly. So we got the money. Let me continue with the money. So there's money, there's grants, there's sponsorship. All of that is a form of money, okay? You need money to start a nonprofit organization. I think a lot of times what people do is that the best thing that I would recommend people to do when they're starting a nonprofit is you have to figure out what you're passionate about. You have to figure out, the vision, who you want to help, what the actual need is, and, how are you going to do that? You obviously, you're going to invest some of your own money and get it off the ground. And essentially, once you kind of get a proof of concept, you have, you've maybe set aside, you may have budgeted for a year and you've put money into actually getting it off the ground. You can kind of move in a manner to where, okay, now I can possibly try to get a grant for $25,000, $30,000 or something like that. Maybe you could hire a grant writer. And so that's going to kind of help you jump to the next level in a sense. And so when you're writing grants, for example, let's say you have maybe 50 kids in your program, okay? When you're writing the grant or you're actually appealing to get a gift, you want to be able to show what you've done and how they can help you get to the next level. And so that's one thing that I'd recommend from money to membership perspective, making sure that you actually have a good account of who's actually partaking in the program, and it can be verified as well too. Please keep in mind though, with a lot of these grants with foundations, there are going to be, especially with the government as well too, there's obviously going to be stipulations involved. And so what that means is, for example, the office that I was an executive for, we received a gift of $25 million from a gentleman by the name of Trevor Reese Jones. And he's a very successful guy. And with that gift comes a responsibility to the nonprofit organization to where all financial assistance had to be documented correctly, because we would have to report to his foundation on making sure those funds were allocated to what they were supposed to be used for. And
so it sounds like to me that you need to have not only a nonprofit management, but you need to also have accounting and accountability.
Accountability, yeah.
Because if you are given a grant and they come do an audit, so to speak, and make sure that you did exactly what you said. That's why for many years my wife and I didn't even want grants.
I understand.
We went to private donors, private foundations. Did you speak to that?
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. That's kind of where the bread and butter is. And so for me, I'll tell you guys my story. I came into the nonprofit world, and I didn't really. So when I really came into the nonprofit world full time, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge of what it was. But when I tell you, I really blew it out the water when I kind of got ingrained and I raised a lot of money. I did a lot of presentations. I understand the importance of getting the right people involved with manpower and how to leverage, opportunities and open up other doors and collaborate and put on like some little presentations and managing resources at the same token. But I recommend anyone that has a nonprofit, you have to be able to be self-sustained. And how you're able to become self-sustained is essentially by building a campaign. You can build an annual giving campaign for your organization. Now, it's got to be planned out the right way. And this is kind of something that I've had the privilege to work with the American Black Cross on as well too. And we're kind of putting some things in motion. But you have to be able to have a donor base that actually gives to your cause on an annual basis. You have to be able to understand how much your goal is. What is your goal?
Okay, all right. Okay. So, all right. I hear what you're saying, but let's break it down.
Sure.
I'm over here. I'm trying to start a little nonprofit.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of credibility. I've been working with a lot of kids and youth, and I can't even get my own family to give me $10.
Okay.
Okay. I can't borrow gas money from my own family members, let alone your friends. Just like people, that's getting a CD. If your own family's not buying your CD, how do you expect somebody to buy your CD?
Yeah.
So my point is, it's a long, hard road to people to give you money. How do you ask somebody to give you money for something? Or they have to just notice what you're doing?
They have to. I'm glad you said that. Yeah. So they not only have to notice what you're doing, who you are, but you have to also make sure the visibility is appealing to the people that you're going to get the gift from. So if you find yourself in, let's say, for example, you have an organization, look at your visibility. If you want to figure out what your website should look like, then look at someone else that is a big player directly in that space and compare and say, okay, you know what, I may not have the funding to have a website that's $12,000-$15,000, but what I can do is I can create something that's a little bit more cost efficient, and it can somewhat resemble it, and you grow as you go, and it gets better over time. And so if you have that visibility on that aspect, if you have a proof of concept, if you have membership, because the thing is, membership is going to open up the door for money. You know what I'm saying? And then
Now, proof of concept.
Yes.
That's key, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel in the nonprofit
Exactly.
space. And I believe that more and more corporations that are giving money to nonprofits want to see collaboration.
Exactly.
Can you work with others? How are you bringing all of these pieces together? And if that's appealing, like you say, your website, hey, you can do a website on Wix.
Exactly.
$50, $100, and just put a picture there that depicts what it is, that you're passionate about, that represents your nonprofit. It doesn't have to have a lot of bells and whistles, but he's absolutely right. Duplication is flattering. So look out there and see who's doing what. If it's successful, pattern yourself after that.
Exactly.
And don't believe any of the naysayers, okay? If you believe in your mission and you have that purpose, just continue to do it. Now, you mentioned something about visibility.
Mm-hmm.
That has been an issue because you have some jello folks. Shiny things get rocks thrown at them.
Right.
I have personally been criticized to say, well, you're giving to the homeless and you're taking pictures almost like, hey, see, I'm helping people.
Right.
What we try and do is never take pictures of the people that are receiving the help, but we do film us giving the help. Because if they can't see it in today's world, it didn't happen. If you can't go to Instagram and see it, it didn't happen. If you can't go to Facebook and see it, you never did it.
Right.
In other people's mind, because they want what they can see. Perception.
Exactly, because perception is reality, and even if the people that are criticizing you, you're not really doing it for them anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's more so you're actually meeting a need.
Kick rocks. You heard that? Kick rocks.
Don't play in
I
traffic.
bind you in the name of Jesus.
That's funny. Yeah, man, absolutely. And so manpower is another dimension that I'll kind of touch on as well too. So manpower in itself. And I'm kind of giving you guys a simplified version. We're going to obviously do some more shows over the weeks to come, but manpower is key as well too. So we touched on money, we touched on a little bit on, on membership, and I'll probably go back to those as well, but manpower is key. So as you're building, you have to have credible people with your organization. The area that I managed when I was an executive was an extremely high-profile area. And when I was actually recruiting certain people, you have to go about doing it the right way. You have to be able to put together a job description. You have to be able to make sure that everything is good on the back end with pre-planning. Because what you're doing is You're getting someone in a high profile position and you're actually using them to help open up doors and also leverage resources. Those resources, again, they can be sponsorship, they can be an actual gift, and then before you know it, you're actually doing things in the community and things just start happening. Like I've had donors call me before and say, hey, there's a kid, I want to be able to, he can't afford to go to summer camp, I want to pay for it, and I want to be anonymous. And I've learned there's a lot of people out there that, that are very affluent, that like to give to causes and needs, right? But they don't understand, they feel like that for them to cut a check, they've done their good deal. But there's more to it than that. They can actually get involved. They can actually volunteer.
Cutting the check is very important.
It's very important.
But
it's mandatory. It's the money is the main thing.
But I've had people, including yourself.
Okay.
You actually came to us and said, what can I do? Can I donate? And I believe I said to you, brother, money is always needed.
Yeah.
But your knowledge and your influence is worth a lot more to me than your money. And since then, this brother believed in us, we believed in him, and God has started sending people. When you start believing in that positive energy and he sends you positive people and you're doing it for the right reasons, people have started just coming to us ever since you approached us. So you're absolutely right. I appreciate that from you.
No.
But there are a lot of affluent people that want to give, but they don't want to get involved.
They want to give, exactly. Or they have a perception or an idea of them cutting a check, they've done their good deed. But again, maybe that might be a guilt trip. I don't really know, but I know.
I'll take the check.
Yeah, I'll take the check. Yeah, you gotta take the check.
You gotta take the check.
But there has to be manpower. There are people that, like, when I was raising money, I was able to raise a whole lot of money. The main reason why I actually raised a lot of money was because I had the right key players in the right places. I had to know what I need. So you have to know what kind of manpower you need first and foremost. Know the people that you need and how you're trying to leverage them. So I recruited a guy, and he was, at the time, he was the vice president of wealth management for Merrill Lynch. And when I worked with him, I was able to approach him, we were able to sit down, and it's a whole process with even getting the meeting, right? I know people like saying, well, how did you get to the meeting? I can get to that. We'll read it. It's a lot that goes into it, but we'll circle back later on, maybe on another show. But I had to sit in front of him because I knew that if I had him, then I would be able to hit my goal. And when I worked with him, we'd meet in his office, we'd meet for coffee, and he actually kind of really opened up some doors for me, gave me some really good advice, especially as, a young black man, trying to grow up and trying to really navigate myself through corporate America in a sense. And I essentially used his name, not used his name, but dropped his name.
Name drop,
you know what I mean, to a lot of people.
Name drop Mark Cuban.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Mr. Gerard,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop you there
Okay.
because he brought up a good point. He brought up as a young black man. So there are challenges, blacks and nonprofits. So next show, I'm going to get one word from you at the end, but next show we're going to talk about blacks and nonprofit and churches. Should they give back to the community? That's going to be our next topic, kind of do your little teaser. But one final word as we close.
Yeah, man, just definitely thank you guys for all the listeners, anyone out there that's aspiring to do big things, even if it's in the nonprofit world, for-profit world, whatever it is that God placed on your heart for you to do, go do it, man. Don't let nobody stop you from doing that. If you can't get through the door, go through the window. If you can't go through the front door, go to the back door. Leave no stone unturned with this, but at the end of the day, make sure that you're passionate about it too. Don't do it for the wrong reason. For the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
And that's the word with Gerard. We out of here. We'll see you next week.
What do you think? Not too bad?
Yeah.
So I think we got enough to do a good 5 or 8 minutes.
Okay, that's cool.
Nobody wants to sit and listen to you for 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes. Yeah, you want to keep it short, sweet, and simple.
So
man.
we're going to hit those key points, and then when you see it, we're going to have it on the screen, those key points. And then we may break that up into 2 shows, just dealing with just the key points you talked about, and then dealing with management of that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll add a few things to it. So,
Hey, cuz, can you get a picture of me and her sitting down?
so this is only the beginning.
That was pretty good, man. That was good,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
Love it,
okay.
you, bro.
And then you can have, yeah, and you can have other people here, and I can be the guy that just drives it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, that was dope, man.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna share the YouTube with you so you can take a look at it.
Okay, cool, man.
Okay?
Okay.
And nothing to go live, and then, we'll
Make
work
some
with.
edits and stuff
So,
like that. Okay.
what is a day that we could set that you wanna do this consistently?
Man, we can do it Sunday mornings if you want.
Okay? All right?
Everybody either.
Well, I think